Welcome back. We are in Khan Academy under Algebra 1 in the unit Quadratic Functions and Equations, and we are on the skill called Quadratic Formula. This formula is totally worth memorizing because it makes it possible to solve quadratic functions for their zeros and learn other things about the function, like where its x-coordinate of its vertex is pretty easily, without having to do things like factoring by grouping or factoring into two binomials and that kind of stuff. And so this is well worth memorizing. Now, the quadratic formula is used to find the zeros of a quadratic function when it's stated this way. So if you have a function that looks like this, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So we're finding when the function value, when a quadratic function has a value of 0, that is where, graphically, where it crosses the x-axis because the function value is the y values. So we're looking for x-intercepts graphically. If we want to know where those zeros are, and we have the only variable here is x, a, b, and c are constants. Those are coefficient. A and b are coefficients, and c is a constant. These are numbers that aren't changing. X may change. That's what makes it a function. And so the quadratic formula says if you have a function, a quadratic function in this format, set equal to 0, then you can conclude that x, to make this expression equal 0, x will have to equal negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, it looks like a mess, but it's fairly simple to use. Remember, you will know these numbers a, b, and c, just like in this problem here. You will know the numbers a, b, and c once you put the function into that format. So the first thing, for example, on this problem is that we need to make it all equal 0. Well, I'll do that by adding 9 to both sides of the equation. So we get negative 5x squared plus 7x plus 9 equals 0. So now we have a function set equal to 0, a quadratic function set equal to 0. So a, b, and c in this particular case is negative 5, 7, and 9 respectively. So all we have to do to figure out what numbers make this equation true is put those constants right into this formula and simplify. So let's do that. In this case, we know what b is. It's 7. So we're going to say x equals negative 7 plus or minus the square root. B squared, that's 7 squared, minus 4 times a is negative 5, times c is 9, all over 2 times a is negative 5. So now, this is a solution. This is two solutions. We have two different numbers, something plus that and something minus that, and in both cases divided by this constant. Now, we want to simplify because their solutions don't have nearly as many numbers and operations floating around, so we can do that too. So we have x equals negative 7 plus or minus 7 squared is 49. Negative 4 times negative 5 is 20, positive 20. Positive 20 times 9 is positive 180. All of that's over 2 times negative 5, which is negative 10. And so, we're getting there. 49 and 180 is 229. Negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 229 over negative 10. So let's see what they have here for choices. That's what we found, right? Negative 7 plus or minus 220 over negative 10. Now I will, so we can select that. Yes, it's true. However, I want us to look at what I would do is simplify that some more. I don't like fractions to have negatives in the denominator, so if we multiply this fraction times negative 1 divided by negative 1, negative 1 divided by negative 1 is 1, and so if I multiply by that, I'm not changing the number, I'm just changing some signs. So let's see what happens. Well, negative 1 times negative 10, that's 10, so we get x equals something over 10. Negative 1 times negative 7 is 7. Negative 1 times plus or minus, well, negative 1 times positive is now negative, and negative times a negative is now positive, so you still have a plus and a minus. That really hasn't changed. If I were wanting the answer on paper, if I was coming up with the solution myself, I would be shooting for this. This is a neater form than the one they had on their list, but that's all you need to do. Again, you have to put the equation into this form, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Once it's equal to 0, you can apply the quadratic formula where you just substitute each of these constants, a, b, and c, into this function, into this formula, and then simplify. Simplify several steps of algebra to simplify that, just chugging through some calculations, and you get your solution.